Well, hello there, Retro PC Durham. It's Chris here with another machine. We got this glossy guy here. He's kind of shiny. We got this clone PC. This is a build-up of a conglomeration of parts. I thought I would, as usual, show it off to you to see what it's like before it ends up getting into the donation pile. So we got this little front-end clone front case. You can see we lost the front door that was on this, unfortunately, with some broken plastic, so I just removed it completely to not have to deal with that issue. Has a little bit of a front axis here with a SD card and CF card reader in the front. We've got our USB ports and audio ports, power and reset buttons. We have some drop downs here to be able to get access to optical drives as well. So there's a multi-burner in there, and I think this one's empty. Yeah, this one's got nothing in it. And then we'll move around to the back of the system, and we'll take a look here. We got our power supply, which does have an off switch. You can see on our system board here, we've got our PS2 connector ports, a VGA port on board, some more USB ports, Ethernet, audio, and then we do have a discrete graphics adapter that's been added to this, which is always helpful because if you've ever watched any of my other videos, a lot of these machines obviously are older machines. We get these things from donations and build them up so they can run a Windows 10 environment for a low-income family or a foster kid or someone who needs a computer and doesn't really have the money for it. Lid off, we'll take a look inside guts-wise. You can see here we have this ASRock motherboard, and it is an AMD based system. And then we have that discrete graphics card as well. Two DDR3 memory slots in here where we have a 4 gig of RAM installed. We have a 3.5 inch hard disk drive, and then this, RAID Max power supply, which is 420 watts total. And as far as power efficiency goes, it doesn't even say that it has power efficiency, so we're not going to worry about that. Let's get the lid back on, and we're going to set this up with the monitor and keyboard and mouse. This is going to go into donation with, and take a look at what it's running inside. All right, we're all set up here with our tower. We have this Dell UltraSharp 1800DF screen. As you can see, it's a 4x3, 1280 by 1024 resolution capable monitor. We have a PS2 Logitech Deluxe keyboard and a USB Logitech M100 mouse. I'm going to hit the power button, and we will allow the startup to go. It's actually kind of surprising that even with, I think it's just the two fans in there between the CPU fan and the PSU fan, produces a fairly healthy amount of noise coming out of those two fans. So glad that I actually didn't have to put any more in there to help keep the system cool. Actually, I'm wrong. The video card that I added in there does have a small fan as well, but it is a pretty quiet fan, so I don't think it's contributing to the noise. Boot up is actually pretty quick. Considering that when you see the specs of this thing from a boot perspective, some of the specs are okay, some of the specs are a little bit questionable. But obviously, boot time is often most affected by the type of hard disk drive that is in the system. This does have a spinning disk as opposed to an SSD, so you are going to see a slight delay in Windows actually getting booted. And what you may notice from Windows 10, I always notice, is that Windows 10 doesn't actually take that long to get booted up into this screen, but it continues to load a number of background applications afterwards. Whereas a lot of older versions of Windows, it tries to do all that work up front so that when you get to the desktop, it's just ready to go and you don't have to wait for it to continue loading up all these background applications and workloads. Anyways, we're at that position now, so I'm going to readjust on the screen and we'll take a look at hardware info. So processor wise, we've got this AMD Sempron 145. Now you'll see here as well, this is a single core, single threaded processor. That wasn't my intention. See, one of the things about these Sempron processors is they have the ability to unlock hidden cores. And this one, unfortunately, that hidden core, that second core, wouldn't work. So instead of this coming up as an Athlon X2 4050E, I think is the processor. Actually, I can take a look here in Device Manager. And show the hidden devices. So instead of coming up as this Athlon X2 4450E processor, and there being two of them, being a dual-core processor, it only shows the one Sempron 145. So the reasons why these are showing up is because when I do try to enable it in the BIOS, Windows can't complete loading. It just crashes out. And that's because that second processor is defective or not working properly or whatever. Which is why, at the time, AMD disabled that and turned it into a Sempron instead of being an Athlon X2. So this was just a case where I couldn't get that going. Luckily enough, though, at least, it does run at that 2.8 gigahertz speed, which means it's fast enough that even being a single core, it can handle doing the basic Windows tasks. I do have 4 gig of DDR3 memory installed on that, and we've got that 120, it's 130 gig, I think, Maxtor hard drive. It's showing up as 122 formatted. And then the DVD burner. And then for a video card, we have this NVIDIA GeForce GTX 745, which is an odd duck. It's an OEM card that was sold mainly through Dell and I think sometimes through HP as well. And it's not an incredibly powerful GPU. Like even though it says it's a GTX, this is not a gaming, never was a gaming GPU. It was for like doing CAD work, etc. What's interesting about it is that it's got 4 gig of memory. It's DDR3 memory, but it's got 4 gigs. It's a lot of memory for what would be considered a low-end graphics card in terms of performance. So it's interesting. I haven't really found a use for it in many other machines. I've kind of been waiting for a system to come along that would have like more than 4 gig of RAM in it, but it's really not something that happens very often. So I'm pairing it up with this anemic processor to see if it can try to help it out a little bit, and it kind of does. So yeah, those are the specs. Now I figured what we could do is show off opening up the Microsoft Edge and getting the YouTube going and showing off the CrabRave and see how this single core, single threaded processor can handle doing that work with a little bit of help from his memory and graphics card friends. Okay, back up at the front desktop, let's open up Microsoft Edge, see how long it takes to get that up and running and opened. And you can tell there is that lag and delay as the processor is having trouble telling all the rest of the computer parts what to do. I'm going to click on YouTube. And we've already got our link here to be able to open up CrabRave. While the Grammarly ad is running, we will pull up Stats for Nerds, and then we should be able to skip ads. I will pause. I will full screen. And I'm going to make sure we're on 720p instead of just auto. And let's see if, right at 1280 by 1024 screen resolution, 720p is the native resolution for this screen. Let's see how well the system can actually handle it. If it's going to drop a ton of frames or if there's going to be noticeable lag on the screen. I don't know. If 480 might have to happen here, but we'll see once we get going. Of course, I wanted to let it buffer up, so that buffer health is there to help keep us going. So I do see, between me watching this on YouTube compression and then recording it, and then it going and getting compressed as we put it on the YouTube again, sometimes it doesn't translate as well. We've dropped 1 frame so far, but I did notice a little bit at the beginning, a little bit of a hesitation or a stuttering that doesn't show up in the viewport and frames section of Stats for Nerds. But again, we're now only at 7 drop frames at 1,000 now, and it seems to be running relatively well. So what I would say to that is, you know what? Well done. Well done, AMD Sempron 145 single core processor. Your second core may be garbage, but your first core is definitely able to take care of itself. So this is a system that, again, is going to be a little bit slow to start, but once it gets going, it's capable of handling itself for standard, regular, normal computing tasks, and definitely a machine that I feel comfortable putting out for donation. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you've got any comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Maybe some stories of your success or failures with unlocking and overclocking AMD Sempron and Athlon X2 processors. Why not? In the meantime, I hope you are staying safe and healthy, and we'll catch you in the next one.